it can happen actually after only a few years. Paint problems on cars, not just one brand.
Exactly, and it's not just happening to regular consumers. It's a problem for a lot of police departments. They're seeing the problem with their Crown Victorias, right? So, and that they say it's not just an eyesore, that people actually are worried about being stopped by these cars because they wonder if they're fake cops or not. So we checked out the Aurora Police Department and their problem.
Peels off, it flakes off. One officer mentioned it just blows away driving down the road.
Aurora police officers are
embarrassed. This is an image, and it portrays a poor image, we think.
The paint on patrol cars is flying off of these Fords. It's a factory problem with the aluminum bubbling and blistering under the paint. Whole hoods are stripped, so are sides, on many cars in this fleet that went into service from 2000 to 2008.
It's pretty ugly.
But this issue goes beyond the surface. There's concern that these cars may present a greater safety issue.
How do you know with all the peeling paint and everything whether it's not just one of those auction cars or if it's a real policeman when they're pulling you over?
Aurora has gotten 40 cars repainted under the Ford warranty and plans to repaint 24 more, but
apparently some of the models that we have are so outdated that Ford won't repaint those. They're out of warranty.
So the city has to pick up the tab for the rest, but can't afford to. Police Chief Dan Oates sent this statement. Like all other cities in this economy, we've made tough choices on deferring and maintaining equipment. Deputy City Manager Michelle Wolf says the resources the city has will continue to be focused on maintaining operational readiness of our fleet in order to best serve our residents and provide for public safety.
It's concerning that all of our taxpayer money, what is it going to if we're not taking care of the things that are supposed to be taking care of us?
Aurora PD is not alone in this. At least 40 departments across the country have had the same peeling paint problem, including Denver. Now, Denver settled with Ford and had 133 cruisers repainted last year. And as we said, Aurora is working on getting some of those cars repainted, and they're getting a new fleet, too, very soon.
Now, of course, we're talking about fleets, but this can happen to individuals, and it's not just Ford. Car paint jobs, they're just not what they used to be. Now, I never really gave it a second thought, but I do notice a lot of cars chipping and peeling, and I'm wondering why.
You just think, well, they're really old and it's time to get them repainted. I never thought there was a problem.
Now, there is a problem, and we're going to talk to an author in a little while, but I want to just tell you, I want to break it down and make it simple. You have to understand this. First of all, this book, Making It Right, Why Your Car Payments Are Lasting Longer Than Your Factory Paint Job. I need to explain how, according to this book and according to experts, how the paint industry works in the auto industry. The auto industry has a factory. And within that factory, the paint manufacturers actually set up the painting operation. So they come in and actually run the paint operation. So the manufacturer is getting ripped off too, so to speak.
So they don't know this is happening.
Well, that's debatable whether they know or not. Okay. We'll ask this author.
Okay.
But what I want to get across is that the manufacturer has the paint shop in the factory, but the factory is run by the paint manufacturers.
By a third party.
By a third party.
Okay.
So, Stephen Geiske, who is the author here, he blames the paint vendors who run the booths.
Right. I was reading.
He blames them. He thinks they're cheating the manufacturer as well. But
he says they're systematically basically making that paint thinner.
And thinner and thinner.
Right.
And he actually...
And they count on the fact that car owners don't think it's a problem. They don't really complain to anyone.
Or won't keep their car long enough.
Right.
That's what they're doing. So they're increasing their profit margins by cutting back on product. So your car paint job, if you looked at it and could have X-ray vision and see the depth of paint around the car, you would be shocked at how thin it is in some areas because they're skimping.
Another reason he says it's not, it hasn't become a huge deal yet is because it's not life-threatening. People aren't saying, oh,
right,
my brakes are stopping or the wheels and tires are, blowing. So, it's not just a huge, huge process for them to say, all right, I don't like this car. I think, oh, well, if it's a Ford, I'm just going to get rid of it and I just won't get a Ford again. And they just go about their business.
And it's not a Ford. It's not any particular car.
Right. So, a lot of makes and models is what he's claiming.
So you picture that assembly plant. The cars are being built, right? At the end of the plant where it's getting painted, that paint booth is run by the manufacturers of the paint vendors. So they're in partnership with the car makers. And the thickness of the paint is what we're talking about, plus the durability. Now, this guy got involved, and really a lot of people are saying, oh, big deal, right? Because it's not a safety issue. So let's talk to Stephen Geiske directly.
Good morning. Are you there, Stephen? You're joining us by Skype this morning.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Stephen, I'd like to ask you, are people getting shook up about this, or because it's not a safety item, is it getting pushed to the back burner?
Well, they're getting pushed off. There's been newscasts in 5 states, Colorado, California, Tennessee, Florida, Missouri. So this is an issue that's coming to the surface, but consumers are still being pushed off because they don't know to ask for the paint durability data.
Okay, I want to ask you about the manufacturers. Do they know that the paint vendors are skimping?
No. What happened was, since the mid-1990s, the auto industry changed, where it used to be at one time the paint manufacturer would just supply a drum or a tote of paint to the factory, leave it, and go. Since the mid-1990s, the industry has transitioned to what they call cost per unit or chemical management system, in which the paint vendor supplies their own process engineer. So it's still painted in a Ford factory, GM factory, and the vendor has responsibility for the quality and the process details.
But, Stephen...
And in our opinion, the automaker is not being given all the data to show that the vehicles are defective.
Maybe they don't have all the data, but surely by now, from reports like yours, they understand what's happening. Are they doing anything about this?
Well, that is correct. We did contact the major automakers in 2010 directly. So they should be changing their position on this topic. Prior to that, if you look at the 3 companies are BASF, DuPont, PPG. Worldwide, they pretty much control the exterior finishes of every automobile, just not in the United States, but throughout the world. And collectively, they do $100 billion a year. So if you're a GM or a Ford or a Chrysler, why would you not trust those vendors?
But are they doing anything about it now that you have revealed this and other people have exposed this? Are the manufacturers keeping a closer eye, or are we still in danger of getting bad paint?
You are still in danger of getting bad paint. We have contacted them, and you can just do a fast internet search for any automaker, like Ford, GM, Chrysler, and you can see 2010, 2009, even the new 2011 models are being released with factory paint defects.
But, Stephen, are you getting any explanation as to why this is still going on? I mean, you've brought it to our attention. You've brought it to the manufacturer's attention.
Right.
You're saying it's still happening. Why?
Well, you think about it. This is a good news, bad news story. In 2009, when we released the book, we couldn't ask for better timing. The Detroit Free Press reported that General Motors, the vice president of General Motors, was required from his boss to call a consumer to return a GM vehicle because of paint issues. That gentleman is now the president of General Motors. With the meltdown of the auto industry in 2009 and 2010, it's an embarrassment.
So, I guess what we're hearing is that the manufacturers are kind of they're aware but not doing anything about it. They don't want to mess up the system. And you said it's a price per unit kind of thing. And I bet you they're afraid of being charged more per unit.
Well, and here's the thing. This data is factual data. It exists in electronic databases throughout the industry. We developed the technology to analyze the paint durability data that became best practice within the auto industry. All the automaker has to do is review the data himself electronically, access the databases from either himself or from the suppliers, and he will see that the units, according to their own definition, were factory defects.
All right, what I want to know is, are we right now, what are the chances of us right now getting a new car with a bad paint job right now if we buy a car? Is it 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 5 out of 10, or are they all bad?
I can honestly say this is an auto industry issue. It depends upon the make and the model. You think about it, the paint supplier has to make money per month like any other type of business.
So they cut back?
Cut back, yeah. The paint definitely went thin.
All right, so...
But what if you are...
There has been some changes. Some of my friends from the auto industry has contacted me. They have made some changes to counteract this. but it's still happening from the feedback I'm getting from consumers around the country. There's still a lot of vehicles being released, and this is irregardless of manufacturer, that has thin paint or lack of paint at the new dealerships.
Now, if you are a
so
new
there's
customer
really not much we
and
can
you
do
have
about
a
it.
new car and this starts happening, let's say within the first year, while it's still under warranty,
Yeah.
surely you can go back and get that repainted and touched up. But what if you're past the warranty and this is happening and you can prove that there's a problem? I mean, what as a consumer, what can you do to get your car repainted?
I can tell you if it's
for
beyond
free.
the warranty period, it's going to be very difficult.
As a consumer, you can do three things. Now, again, I'm not an attorney. I don't offer any legal advice. This is just paint durability advice. But as a consumer, the first thing is, again, go to the dealership and request the paint durability data. We have a consumer in New York and also in Indiana. They got sections of the vehicle repainted. Simply, they didn't paint the data, but actually referenced in the book, and they were able to get the vehicle repainted. If the dealership does not help, the next thing is small claims court. Again, I'm not an attorney,
No,
but
he's
we've
right.
been very successful in 2010 helping consumers throughout the United States and getting their vehicles repainted.
Right, you're right. Small claims court would be excellent because the price point is going to be right around that or less. The price point here, the limit is $7,500. We thank you for being here, by the way, Stephen Geiske. And this book is fascinating. It's quite technical.
Great information.
It is
Never
quite
knew this was
technical.
going on.
But here's the message. New cars right now have lousy paint, not how they look, but how they endure.
Right, and you're not going to be able to tell
and how
right
they
off the
last.
bat.
You can't tell off the bat. Many of these paint jobs will last just beyond the warranty period. It's important that you take a close look at your car, and when you notice paint failing, that you report it immediately and that you stay on top of it, because you are able to get repainted the right way under warranty if you notice it soon enough. And even after warranty, if you can show through this book that it was never done right to begin with, you may have a possibility of going back on
You can
the
make them do
dealer
that paint durability test.
or manufacturer. Now, it's a specialty book. It's not like one you're just going to find anywhere, but if you do a search, you can find it online. Making it right, okay? And it's making it right. Why your car payments are lasting longer than your factory paint job. Quite technical, but the message here, keep an eye on the paint jobs, report immediately any defects, take notes of when you first notice the defect, no matter how small it is, and then keep notes as you complain.
As you can see how bad it gets just looking at the Aurora Police Department's fleet.
Of course, you can always call me if you run into a stone wall, because we've been able to get people's cars repainted.
All right. Just